Before I get started on the video, I'd like to ask you guys to go ahead and hit the bell icon next to the subscribe button and hit the notification checkbox. That way you guys don't miss any future uploads from me and you become part of the notification squad. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoy the video. What's up, people of YouTube? This is Troy here, bringing you guys another video to my channel, and it has been a while, but Call of Duty World War II is right around the corner, literally like 3 days away, I believe. I've been watching Reddit very closely, YouTube videos, any leaks or information that I can find, and that is kind of sort of the topic of this video. Before I get into the topic of this video, though, I would like to let you guys know that starting at 3 p.m. on the 3rd of November, I will be streaming Call of Duty World War II for 24 hours until the 4th at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, just so that way you guys know if you want to watch. My Twitch channel will be down in the description of this video, and that is basically all I wanted to say before I get right into this. So basically the whole concept of this video is I wanted to talk a little bit about the leaks and the information that have come out about Call of Duty World War II, and I'm not going to necessarily disclose a lot of the big stuff. Like, I'm not going to talk too much about zombies. I'm not going to talk too much about anything that has to do with the campaign. I didn't watch any story missions myself just because I would like to actually play that and enjoy it for myself. But I mostly want to talk about multiplayer and some of the concerns that people are noticing with these leaks and how I'm processing it and what I think about what's going on. And I think there's a couple different options. So the main thing is that people have noticed that there are only 9 multiplayer maps to start off with this game. So you purchase the game, and unless you have the season pass, you are not going to get any more than 9 maps. So traditionally in Call of Duty, when there's a game that comes out, it ships with 12 to 15 multiplayer maps on average, somewhere in there. That's pretty much what's common. There are 3 war maps, which I guess is kind of sort of supposed to make up for that. I don't really think it does, but that's my kind of thought, is that they threw in the extra war maps thinking, okay, well, it'll be acceptable to have 9 multiplayer maps. And I don't think that if that was purely their reasoning, I don't think that's a very good idea, because I think that this war game mode, there's a very high possibility that within a matter of months it could just completely die off and nobody could really want to play it anymore, like a lot of the new game modes that they try to implement into newer Call of Duty games. But I think that what could be happening is a matter of focus. I think that they did focus on the war game mode because they wanted to bring something new to the table, kind of like they did with Advanced Movement in Advanced Warfare. And while they were doing this, it kind of became a measure of quality over quantity. You could have 15 maps that are your typical 3-lane average maps, or you could have 9 maps that have more detail, more structure, more focus put into them, so that way they're not buggy at launch. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the past few years, when a Call of Duty game drops, there's usually 1 or 2 maps that have quite a few issues right away at launch. So they could be putting more focus on the maps themselves, and that could be causing there to be less maps in general. And if that's the case, I'm not too worried about it because, you know, once again, quality over quantity. Something that I am concerned about, though, is usually when Call of Duty comes out, I only like 5 of the maps, usually 5 or 6 I'm a pretty big fan of. And that's really going to suck if the number of maps that I enjoy have been dropped down so drastically that I only like maybe 3 of the maps now. And that's something that I could definitely see happening. Basically, in terms of quality over quantity, I hope that the quality of the maps makes it so that way, instead of me only liking 3, 4, 5 maps out of what would usually be 15, I hope that out of the 9 maps, I like, 6 or 7 of them. So that way, every time I get a map, almost every single time, I'm going to be genuinely happy for the most part with my experience. That's the positive side. Now, the controversial side of this, something that a lot of people are worried about, is they think that because Activision announced the first DLC that is going to be dropped on January 30th for PlayStation 4 first, is a kind of like a distraction from the fact that they did cut maps out of the game, because there was mention of like Wolf's Lair and things like that, and those are kind of on the map with this first DLC pack, and those were in the PC files, so those should technically already be in the game. If that's the case, that's really, really scummy, and I hope that that's not what's happening, but it is Activision, and I would not put it past them. But I don't really, like, I don't want to jump the gun and say that they are for sure cutting maps from release just to put into DLC, because I would like to say that there's going to be a day one patch that comes out on top of what's already being put out there for patches. I would like to say there's going to be a day one patch that comes out, and there's going to be maps in there that people can't get to right now who have the game, as well as maybe some guns, because we are really lacking on weapons. We're lacking on a few things that usually are pretty standard in a Call of Duty title, and I think that a lot of it is going to be to blame on supply drops, and I don't see them actually giving them to us. I don't think that they're going to get creative with the weaponry that they bring to supply drops, because they will. I mean, they always do. We might be safe until maybe January or so, and then they'll probably drop some DLC guns on us through supply drops, and hopefully they go about it the right way. But I was really hoping that the traditional standard classic World War II weaponry would be in there for us to use, instead of them, giving us a few of those guns and then putting the rest in supply drops. I was really hoping that they would put all of those classic guns in the game itself, and then they would dig and find other guns that were used maybe more scarcely or more rare, and put those in supply drops, to give us a different taste of something when we do get those. But it looks like we are going to have to dig and fight and purchase and struggle to own weapons that a couple of years ago, if a Call of Duty would have came out, those would have been in there by standard, because you can't not have a World War II game without those guns. So, I mean, that's kind of shitty, and I'm not a fan of it. But, like I said, it is what it is. I hope there's a day one patch that just kind of fixes all this, because Call of Duty World War II has so much potential, and I really want to see it just kind of explode and take the series places and just do really, really good things. But knowing Activision, I feel like they're really holding back the potential of the game itself with this whole supply drop thing and DLC, and I honestly think that they're just milking every single customer who comes to their franchise. And I don't mean to speak poorly about Activision, because they do good things for the series itself as well, but I don't see the point in their methods of just kind of making us pay for a game, and then making us pay for supply drops, and then also making us pay for all of the DLC maps. If you're going to do something like that, there needs to be some give and take. I've made a whole video about that process in the past. I won't cover all that in this video. But that is basically what I wanted to talk about. Basically the possibility that Activision is cutting content from Call of Duty World War II to make more money off of it. Or the possibility that it's just not there yet. Or that Sledgehammer decided not to put it in there because quality over quantity. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section, and don't forget about that 24-hour live stream, once again, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, starting November 3rd, going to November 4th, Central Standard Time, and deuces.